We're here. We're back. It's Wednesday. It's an exciting day. Not only is it the third day in a row that I went to the gym, so I'm very proud of myself for doing that because, I'm working towards that, making part of a habit. Do it for 2 weeks and it's a thing. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited because I'm going to be joined by Scott Marshall. He's a safe driver. He's with Trubicars, and he's going to come on talking about an episode that we have scheduled for this Friday. It's all for new drivers, so stay tuned to hear from him in about 10 minutes. We're going to do our regular intros. We're going to be doing all sorts of things today because this is a show called Ask a Traffic Cop that's all about you. We answer your traffic and police questions. We're currently streaming on all sorts of platforms. Which ones? Let me tell you. We're currently on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and even Twitter. But Twitter, we can't see you. You can see us. It's a one-way thing. It's kind of creepy. Wish we could. And if you would like to engage, because that's what this is all about, jump over to trafficcop.ca. That's my link tree. And when you go there, you will have the opportunity to click onto any one of our other social media platforms and join us, because this really is a show for you. And that means you need to participate. Sorry, there's work involved. If you don't ask us anything, you're stuck with whatever comes out of our mouths. And that's just what it is. Now, we have some business to take care of. First off, JD is still abandoning us actively in that vacation mode that he is probably. I hope he's enjoying himself. He deserves it. He works hard. Now, we have my wife who's back in the room and is answering questions. So good morning, not answering questions, is bringing questions over so that I can answer them. So thank you to my wonderful wife, who is magical in every way possible. She's asked very briefly in the chat on TikTok that if you want to ask a question, please put the letter Q before it so that we know that it's a question, because very often we have a lot of dialogue, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of dialogue, and we love it, but it's easier if you put a Q in. Everybody else, well, then you can just, if you're on another platform, we'll see you. If you're on Instagram, you'll see different. You can't put your questions on screen for Instagram, but we will get to you. And it's at least an hour. Very often, it's more than an hour, because at 11 o'clock we cut off new questions, but it's my goal to try and get through as many of them as possible. First things first, I want to talk to you quickly about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Yes, they are a magical group of officers who go out to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. What does that really mean? Well, it means what it means. It means that when people break the law, they need to be held accountable. They need to have tickets issued. And if that means they lose points on their license, or gain points, I guess, it's kind of like golf. You want 0 points. But if you achieve points, it means you lose. And eventually that means you lose your license. And if you keep getting tickets, there's a problem. You probably shouldn't be driving. And the goal of these officers is to make the streets safer for everybody. They're not going out and writing, baloney tickets that don't mean anything. They're focused. They're focused on the big four. Those are the driving behaviors that lead to serious injury and death every single day. Well, not every single day does somebody die, but very often we have serious collisions. And those could be avoided by simply, avoiding these kind of behaviors. And there's a lot of them. These are the big titles. Speeding, well, we know what that is. Anything over the posted speed limit is speeding, and it is one of my pet peeves. We can talk about speeding more later. Aggressive driving, that's a big header that covers a lot of things. Running red lights, making unsafe maneuvers, basically disregarding everyone else's safety because you think you're special. You're not. You're not that special. Distracted driving is an obvious one. That's anything involving your handheld communication devices, a screen visible to driver. Those are major because distraction is one of the leading causes of collisions. In fact, it probably outweighs impaired driving, but impaired driving makes it to the big four. We should also include and maybe make it a big five, because seatbelts is a big thing too. Although I will say I see fewer people that are not wearing the seatbelts these days. It's kind of unusual. So where are they? Where are they focusing their efforts? Because it's a team, but they can't be everywhere all the time. So we send them to different areas based on crash data to focus on problem areas. Where are they today? They're in 23 division. I almost mixed those up. 23 division and 42 division. And if you don't know what those divisional boundaries are, they're neighborhoods like Rexdale, Jamestown, Martin Grove, Malvern, Agincourt, Milliken, Rouge. It's Scarborough. Now, if I've read off a hashtag, because I'm reading right off of my Twitter account for traffic services, if I've not included your neighborhood and you think we should, let me know. We'll update it. Just send us a DM, send us a tweet engage with our tweet, because then I'll know exactly where it should go. Why do we choose those? Because they were hashtags that people look at, and we want to let people know that we're active in their neighborhoods, because they want to feel safe. They want to know that we're focusing. We get so many reports, so many requests, and we can't be everywhere all the time, but we can certainly help out on these days where the VZ team is. Do you know what Vision Zero is? It's the goal. It's the understanding that we cannot remove all collisions, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death, those are based on the choices drivers make, and they're unacceptable, and they're totally avoidable. So we hope that everyone gets involved and decides to change their behavior. I will tell you, I drive the speed limit every day, and people say, baloney, you speed. Everyone speeds. No, everyone speeds past me, but I do the speed limit, and I record it because I have dash cameras, and I love creating content based on that. My observations in my personal vehicle to and from work, because I see the darndest things, and it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable that everybody else on the road, and I shouldn't say it. There are people who are hanging out with me in the speed limit zone, and I stay to their right, so the dum-dums who want to go faster can pass me. And yes, I called everybody a dum-dum who broke the law. If you break the law, I'm borrowing from the character. Is it a character? It's what the alien guy. Who's the alien? Somebody told me last time who the alien was. But the alien from the Flintstones, he calls Fred Flintstone a dum-dum. And it's not that he's a dum-dum. I think he does dum-dum things. Anyway, moving on from dum-dum onto other things. Good morning to Tim, who joins us from YouTube. We have Akela Draconis also from YouTube. We have Michael, who wants to know if it was a gym or a commercial gym or gym at Traffic Services. We have our own gym here, and it's a pretty good gym. We contribute to it as members of the unit. We pay to use it so we can update our equipment. And I've been paying for the membership forever, and I'm not gone. So I'm actually glad to be going now. Apparently you've put up a video or a question on Discord. I'll try and make it there. No guarantees. Big Jeff Fresh, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Rahul Kumar has a question coming in from LinkedIn, and we're going to, let's see here. You have a question about a speeding ticket. You got a summons, 129 reduced to 100 by OPP. How can I proceed with that? Well, if you got a ticket, you did 29 over. You have to respond to the back of it. It has instructions. You have a number of days that you can respond, and you need to either choose to have a trial date or pay it. But in terms of respond, like you either pay it, have a first appearance with a prosecutor, or you deal with it. Like you have a trial. It's up to you. But I understand that you had one ticket in the last 6 years, and you're working towards becoming a member of law enforcement. That's a significant speed, and it could hurt your application. So be prepared to explain it. Even if you aren't convicted of it, it's going to be something they see. Okay. Without further ado, I want to bring in Scott. And we're going to get back to your questions in just a moment. But Scott is a busy guy, and we only have him for a short time, and I really want to chat with him. So let's do this. I'm going to press this button. We're going to make it happen. Hello there.
Good morning.
This is so good to have you back on the screen. We used to do this every single week, and that was meant you were there from the beginning. You were my first guest ever on social media.
Yeah, I put a gold star on my fridge because of that. So
as you should.
I like that.
Now
it's been fun, actually. It was good.
I had a great time, and it's been way too long. But you've been to moves, and now you're doing different things. You've always been a safe driver since I've met you, anyway.
Yeah. So I've surpassed 35 years in as a professional road safety guy, and
that's amazing.
It's been a very fast 35 years. But I don't give up, because I think that a lot of people just need some questions answered, and that's what I like to do.
Well, it's funny. The reason you're on today was inspired by, I believe it was Neha who messaged and said, I really want some new driver tips. And I said, I know a guy who'd be perfect. And we've been talking about doing something, spinning something up again. And I thought it was a perfect timing. We needed a special episode just for new drivers. So if you're a new driver and you're watching this, you're welcome to ask questions. But we want to focus an entire episode. So at 11:30 this coming Friday, we're going to have an episode focused on new drivers. Not can I customize my ride and how fast can I go. We're talking about learning to drive safely and focusing our efforts on those kind of questions. It's going to be a podcast episode too.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. It's something I do every day. And at Trubicars, I run the TikTok account. So if you go to at Trubicars on TikTok, you'll see a gaggle That's a lot, a gaggle
Gaggle's a good word.
of videos for new drivers, and it's all designed for new drivers. So,
And, and, and
and
Trubicars, for anyone who doesn't understand what Trubicars is, you create curriculum for driving schools.
yeah, all across Canada, we have a curriculum that we develop. We also develop like tips as well. So on our website, trubicars.ca, because we're from Canada. Plus, like I said, the Instagram and also TikTok, you'll find videos, you'll find stills, and also Facebook. For those who still use Facebook, we
What's that?
have like a ton of tips that, sometimes it's things that as a new driver, it's like, oh, I didn't know that. But also as a seasoned driver, if you're taking a new driver out to practice, you should know these things too.
I'm just looking for anybody who wants to ask a new driver or for a new driver tip right now, because it's the perfect timing, because we've only got you for a few minutes today.
Yes.
So if I can direct new driver tips, if you've got questions about new drivers, not nude, you should be wearing clothes.
No, no,
New,
new,
recently
NEW.
learning drivers. Yeah, if you're new to driving and you want some tips, now's your opportunity. We can leave you with a couple of tips and to build some suspense and leave the rest for the actual episode. But we're going to be talking. Oh, Sean Chen says, "Welcome back, Scott." This is
Thank you, Sean. I do remember chatting with you previously, which seems like forever ago.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I think in the not too distant future we should have you in studio, but that's a bit of a drive for you. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll work up to that.
You know, it's opportunity to go for another sandwich. We went for a bite to eat, and I still remember that Italian sandwich. It was a very good sandwich.
It was very, very tasty. I like getting out of the office.
These are good things to do. Now, the videos that you've done, now you have two TikTok accounts, because you have your own, the
Yep.
Safe Driver on TikTok, and then Trubicars. You do different stuff on both channels. Is your focus one more than the other now, or are you still producing on both?
I'm producing on both, but I'm spending more right now with Trubicars because I want to build up the volume of videos that we have. And they're very short. Again, they're 30 to 60 seconds, and sometimes they're just like to the point. And just by driving around the area, you get to see some things. And the ones for at the Safe Driver is all about common sense and also some advice that experienced drivers need. So Trubicars is all about new drivers, and that's really what most of my focus is all about.
I love it, because we need to give help in that area. The Grinch, who's coming in through Kick, says, "So as a dad and teaching my daughter to drive, any tips to make it smoother and less stressful?"
Yeah. Oh, glad you asked. That's a good question. So talk to your daughter about what they've learned. And it's all about practicing what they've already been taught. You're not the teacher, you're the practicer, if that's the word. And also speak with the instructor if you can. Find out what you should practice, what you shouldn't practice. Choose an area that is fairly quiet for their ability, and also choose a time of day that's not super busy. Like, don't go out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because you're hitting rush hour. So find a time, find a location, but communication is important. And don't just point out their mistakes, because it makes it very, very negative. Give them a little bit of reward. Hey, that was really nice. I liked how you did that. And that makes them want to do it a bit more. And the second thing is, don't go out for like 2 hour time frames. Go out for like 30 minutes. 30 minutes every other day is better than going out for an hour. It's better than going out for even 2 hours once a week, because they're going to forget stuff. There's
Small
a learning
bites.
there's a learning curve, and there's also a forgetting curve.
I like that. Now, yesterday we got a question about anxiety. There's someone who's got their G1. They've had it for almost 5 years. They can't seem to get past that. They seem to be stuck on fear of driving. And I thought this was a great question for you, since I knew I was speaking to you.
Yeah, so part of it is tackling what the fear itself is and come up with a plan. And not everybody is designed to be a good accompanying driver. So choose someone that you feel is a good driver, who's calm, patient, and make the short plan. Like, start off with just moving the car, go into a parking lot, get the feel of the gas and the brake, know that you're under control. And quite often that anxiety involves the other drivers. What are they going to do to me? What am I going to do to them? So if you go into an empty parking lot, a big one, you've got some build up that confidence. And even again, that 30 minutes at a time thing is a good way to build your confidence.
A lot
And
of
think
people.
about,
Sorry
sorry,
to
yeah,
cut you off. I got some noise coming back. I know that driving instructors can't take people to school parking lots and things of that nature. But as mom, dad, other person, you can go to any parking lot unless it's signed private property, no entry.
That's right. So it depends on your jurisdiction. There might be certain bylaws of what, professional instructors are able to do and go. But as someone who is practicing with their new driver, um, choose an appropriate place that is good. Even an unbuilt up area like an industrial area that's just newly developed, newly paved, and there's no buildings, no activity, is a good place to go to. And always remember the instructions should be positives. Here's what I want you to do. It's like we don't say don't.
I was the CEO of no for a very long time, so I have a difficult time saying no and don't. What do you think about go-karting and those kind of opportunities to get the feel of things that turn and go quick?
Go-karting is fun, a nice hobby, great to do with friends. It's the whole idea of steering and acceleration and braking is different. The configurations of a track are different. And I was in Mosport a few weeks back, and I got to drive a 2023 Corvette on the track.
Wow.
That was totally different than driving on the street. So yeah, leave that as a hobby and it's something fun to do. But driving on public road is a completely different thing.
I think that for the people who want to go fast and think that racing is something you do in your personal vehicle once you're licensed, that's where go-karting and race car tracks are good. But for safe driving, learning the principles, stick
Yeah.
to professional instruction and getting good instruction from a responsible adult that is obviously qualified to instruct.
Yeah, I mean, someone on a racetrack, everybody wants to go fast. On public road, that's not always the case. And those who aren't going as fast as you get in your way, and sometimes they do it unknowingly, and that's when problems occur.
And I just said drive with someone who's qualified to instruct, and I gotta retract that. Someone who's a mom, dad, brother, cousin, that's a driver who isn't qualified as an instructor. That's just someone who's qualified to supervise you if they have more than 4 years driver experience and a full G license. But I
That's right.
really emphasize the need to have professional training, and a lot of people want to know if we think we should make it mandatory.
The decision about mandatory driver training is a political move, because not everybody can afford it. But look at it this way: so even whatever you spend, if you spend 600, 700, up to $1,000, and a lot of people think, well, I can't really afford that. Well, think about the first collision that you're involved in because something happens that you didn't know. Well, now you have a deductible to pay, and your insurance rates go up, and all these things too. And I think your life is worth more than $1,000.
I
Chances
think so.
are.
I invested in young drivers when I was a kid. In fact, I went when I was 15 years old. I rode my bicycle to get my in-class lessons because I was going to be the first person behind the wheel, or I was going to be behind the wheel of a car on day one with my learner's permit. And I did. I went at 9 a.m. as a newly minted 16-year-old, got my learner's permit, and then began my in-car classes. So I really appreciate having had that experience. And I've taken advanced driver training since. So that's a cool thing. Anything that you want to chat about?
I live and breathe driving, as you know, and it doesn't matter the day, time, or whatever. This is something that I have a passion for. And if one person gets something out of a discussion or a conversation we've had, then that's a win. And that's really kind of what I've been about for 35 years and what Trubicars is all about. And again, for those who just jumped in, go check out the Trubicars TikTok. You'll see a bunch of videos for new drivers. We'll follow back. And it's just something that we want to do to help people.
I'm
And
gonna
even
have to.
our website.
I'm gonna have to go check out your most recent videos. Maybe we'll do some stitches, and I think we should do some collaborations because that would be fun.
I think so.
Last question is from Radek, who's on YouTube, and he wants to know, or they want to know, can I take my nephew with a G1 license out for practice drive late at night?
You can. The restrictions are that they're not allowed to drive between midnight and 5 a.m., mainly because their mind and body are tired. But if you wanted to, that's what you mean by late. If you want to wait till all the traffic goes home and everybody does their thing, then that's fine. But again, choose a safe area, choose a well lit area. Other than the fact that their headlights, if it's a dark country road, things can sneak up and it does affect their confidence. So again, find out what they've learned, practice those skills, even if it is late at night.
Just to add on to that, if you're taking them to drive between midnight and 5 a.m., it's illegal. It's breaking a condition of their license. They'd be getting a ticket, which would come with a 30-day suspension on conviction. If it was their first time, second conviction, 90-day suspension. They can get kicked out of the program. But
Yep.
if you were going to, in that time, because that was the only time available, you as the licensed driver, drive to a private property parking lot, they could drive in that parking lot legally because a license isn't a requirement on private property. Not that I want people to go do that, but that would be a one way if you were really stuck. That would be the way. But night driving before midnight, be done before midnight if you're going to be doing it on the road.
That's right. And getting practice driving at night is a good thing, but don't forget that it gets darker and later in the fall. So it makes it a lot easier to go driving at night at 7 o'clock at night when it is dark. And the sunset, if you want to do dark, wait till at least half an hour after sunset. That's when it's dark.
Dark. It's good. You're going to visit us again tomorrow, similar time. We'll talk for about another 10 or 15 minutes then. But the big show is Friday, 11:30. That's when we're going to do a dedicated show all about new drivers. So if you've got questions, bring them then. I mean, of course, if you've got questions tomorrow, we're more than happy to talk about them for 10 minutes. But the big show, Friday at 11:30 Eastern Time, right here on TikTok and everywhere else that we're currently broadcasting, because that's how we roll.
That's right. And if you want to ask me questions ahead of time, anytime, our TikTok is at Trubicars, and you can also find me on Twitter and also Instagram.
There you go.
There you go.
And you have a blog, and you have a what do you call it?
Podcast.
That's what it's called. Thank you.
It is.
I lost the word for a moment.
So yeah, we've also started a Trubicars podcast. I'll mention this tomorrow and also on Friday too. It's an interactive podcast that I want questions from people, and the fact that people are asking questions now and this week, thanks to Ask the Traffic Cop, is fantastic. But send me questions. You can send questions to podcast@trubicars.ca, or you can message me directly, and I might even include your question in our weekly podcast.
I see the Grinch just followed you on TikTok. You have a new one. New follower.
Beauty.
Done. And for anyone on TikTok, Scott, if you send a message in the chat right now from whichever account you're in, they'll be able to follow you just from in the chat. So it's a cool way of doing stuff. But I will say goodbye for now. We'll see you tomorrow. But it's really nice having you back on screen.
It's feels like a good pair of shoes, nice and comfortable.
But hopefully not smelly.
I can't
Be
guarantee
well.
that.
We'll see you later. Okay, that was Scott Marshall, and just an all-round good dude. So I look forward to seeing him again tomorrow, and we're going to do this. We'll do a 10 to 15 minute segment every day and including Friday, until we do the actual episodes. We want to bring as many people to the party. So if you know a new driver, if you know someone who needs this kind of info or wants this kind of info but doesn't know where to get it, well, now you know where to send them. If you'd like more information, I'm going to put a link to the event on trafficcop.ca. We're going to be tweeting about it on all platforms or messaging about it. So we're going to promote it, and maybe you can help us do exactly that. Thank you, Akela Draconis, who reminds me of who the alien who says dum-dum, who calls Fred Flintstone dum-dum. He is the Great Kazoo, and I think you told me about that yesterday. And, I know and remember a lot of stuff, and then some stuff doesn't stick. And the Great Kazoo, sadly, is one of those things. Have you been watching 80s style shows, or not shows, 80s style TikToks that take the old adverts and commercials for all these episodes and rebroadcast them? I love it. It's like going through a time warp. I watched one yesterday for Consumers Distributing. Adverts for Consumers Distributing. It was hilarious. I used to go there all the time. I used to buy all sorts of stuff there. Oddly enough, I bought some desks and for school, and I remember that the desks were just a little smaller than that it made sense. It didn't make sense. They were itty bitty. But you bought everything there. Have you been to? Do you remember Consumers Distributing? Let me know, because that's something that I think is hilarious. Not that people remember things, but that I'm not alone. I'm not alone in remembering that. I'm not that old. Scott remembers Consumers Distributing. Okay. Let's see. Akela says, I think you scheduled the motorcycle for 10:20. Well, we're 6 minutes late if that was the case. But here is the information you need to know about supporting the magical, magical people at, well, Special Olympics Ontario. If you'd like the opportunity to win a 2022 Harley-Davidson Touring Street Glide, you should buy your tickets now because it's only 34 days, 22 hours, 33 minutes, and 26 seconds away, where you will, well, you have the opportunity of winning, being announced as the winner. But you got to buy a ticket in order to have that chance. One ticket is $20, 3 for 50, 8 for 100. 8 is what I did because I want the most chances to win, and I like supporting the good folks there. They really do amazing work. And if you know not of what Special Olympics is, Google it. It's great stuff. Okay. We have a question that my wife has brought over from TikTok. Who asked it? I don't know. But you're awesome for asking, and I will just thank you that way. The question is, can I use Apple CarPlay while driving for calling and changing songs? If you have an integrated system like CarPlay or what is that? Is it Android Auto? If you're using that, it's still a distraction. But if you're using your steering wheel controls or your audio controls, you're not actually breaking the law. You don't qualify as a violator for the handheld communication device. If you touch your phone, if you pick it up, if you touch the screen, even if it's mounted, well, then it is a violation, and you're eligible for a $615 ticket, 3 demerit points on conviction for your first conviction, and a 3-day suspension. That, of course, goes up if you continue to be a problem. And many people are really addicted to these devices, and I get it. They're really cool. They're fun. They're your connection with the outside world, and when you're driving, the outside world should be on hold, and you should focus on driving. But if you must use your phone, using it through Apple CarPlay or a similar service is excellent. I will often dictate a message to my family. In fact, I have a HomePod at home, so I'll say intercom my house, and it will play in every Apple connected device in the home. I'll say, I'm home, come outside, I'm here to pick you up, whatever the story is. Sometimes it's for fun and to interrupt their television watching. But whatever it is, I do use that, and I think it's great. But it doesn't require me to take my hands off the wheel. It's entirely voice directed. And it is still, don't fool yourself, it's still a distraction when you're doing that. And even though it's less so, and you can't get charged for it, you can, however, get into a collision, and that would suck. So be very cautious, whatever you are doing. Driving should be the focus. Okay. Can the police, what is this can the police message? Can the police legally ask the passengers or for the passenger's ID, and is the passenger legally obligated to show it? I will take a sip and we'll talk about it. Okay, water good. It depends. If I pull a driver over for anything not related to anyone else in the vehicle, then there's no reason for me to ask any information, and they're not obligated to provide it unless I'm investigating them for something that is under a provincial statute or a criminal code violation, or what's an example of a statute or a provincial offense? Not wearing their seatbelt. If you're not wearing your seatbelt as a passenger, and I saw you do that, and I'm alleging that you did it, and I'm going to write you a ticket for it, you are obligated to identify yourself. Do you have to give me a driver's license? Well, no, you don't have to as a passenger, but you must satisfy me of your identity. And if you are not satisfying me as to your identity, which is usually easiest is to give me a driver's license or another piece of identification, well, we might be there for a while. In fact, you can be arrested if you refuse to give information or if you're giving false information. So, yes, and depends. And there are times. Alcohol, marijuana, different things like that would also be a reason, because you can't have open alcohol, or you can't have unsealed marijuana or lit marijuana. Drugs in general, these are reasons to talk to people other than the driver. But there could be other things as well. If I'm pulling you over because of something in relation to a criminal offense unrelated to driving, yeah, we can ID people. Can't just randomly ask for people. Okay, question from Oldane 54. Hello, I'm French. It's possible that I subscribe to you. Is that you subscribe to me in return? I've not been a big follow person, but I appreciate that the follow if you're following us. But at the same time, we provide information about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff, but it's very focused on Ontario and Canada. So if you're French from Paris, or from France, I should say, it may not be relevant, but if you're going to come visit us here, that's great. But we'll check you out. What kind of account do you do? Do you do gaming? What is it? What do you have? Stephen Bell, I think I said that you said hello before, and I acknowledge your hello again. Okay. A debate between boyfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend, or girlfriend and, no, it's a boyfriend. We know one. You know what? When it's only one side being represented, I don't know who the other side is, and I'm just going to move on now. Debate with boyfriend. Can police chase and ticket on the highway, or do they have to call the OPP? We are police officers sworn for the province of Ontario, and we can pull you over anywhere in the province. Can we issue a ticket? Well, it depends on how far away from the jurisdiction we are. The rules generally are to issue a ticket, it should be no more than one jurisdiction away. So if I was in Peel Region and I happen to be there because that's where the best coffee is, a really bad example, well then if I saw something happening there, I could stop you and ticket you. But even if I couldn't ticket you, because let's say I'm more than one jurisdiction away, well, I can phone a friend. I can call someone from Peel or another surrounding service that happens to be there that is within that jurisdictional boundary, and they can issue the ticket. So the simple answer is you have to stop for police. And if we are in the province of Ontario, regardless if it's the highway or a city, we can stop you. We have that authority. And to issue a ticket, you're going to get charged. So who won? Who won the debate? I want to know. Okay, we got Big Jeff Fresh. Oh, vacation mode, I see. Catching up on much needed sleep on my days off. Very good. Those are the best. I don't get to sleep anymore because I'm a dad. Okay. If you're on a bike at a red light, this is a motorcycle or bicycle question. If you're on a bike at a red light, can you stop in between two cars for safety? So this is a lane splitting, lane filtering question. And oddly enough, you've posed it in exactly the way that I would represent it for safety, which I wouldn't have a problem with. That doesn't mean it's legal or proper or whatnot, but it is legal. Or no, it's acceptable to me. That's better. So lane splitting is when you drive between moving traffic on a motorcycle, you drive between the lanes. So if you were riding the line between two vehicles, two cars, two trucks, two whatevers, that's not legal. That's unsafe. It's careless driving. It could be stunt driving. It could be criminal. If you are traveling through stopped traffic to the front of a pack of, to get to the front of a pack of traffic at a red light, let's say, that's lane filtering. That's also not legal, but less of an issue for me than the other. If you're just tucking in between two cars so that your bumper or your rear tire and your body isn't the bumper that gets struck if a car decides not to stop or isn't paying attention, because that kind of stuff happens, I have no issue with that. If you walk your bike, essentially, or roll slowly between two vehicles and stop, not passing vehicles, I think that's perfectly fine. Other officers may not agree with you. That would be something that you'd have to explain if you were pulled over. But I have no issue with that. And that's as far as it goes. I get it. That's articulable. And it's also not unreasonable. So a lot of the law is about being reasonable, and I think that is reasonable. Does TPS have gun ranges? Would a service member with a PAL or a restricted PAL use the range with personal firearms with their bought ammo off shift? Once upon a time, we used to have ranges throughout the city. And I used to run the Auxiliary Revolver Club, and twice a month we would meet and we would shoot and we would do instruction and training and all that stuff. Now we have a range at the police college, and we have directed practices. And that means that there's a range officer and there's instructional elements of it. And I don't think, although it's legal for a member to bring their own firearm, we would likely focus on training with our service weapons. Okay. Oh, apparently you cannot subscribe. Really? Okay. Apparently we have to be affiliated to get us to I thought you could follow. I mean, this is kick terminology that I'm not familiar with. We're not affiliates yet. That's okay. All we are here to do is share good information. If you're watching, you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. It says so right on the screen, so it must be true. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. And that's about it. That's what I do. I'm a traffic educator. I talk about traffic law, and I talk about safety. Now, not everybody likes the stuff that I say, because sometimes people don't want to be told that they're breaking the law, that they are traffic violators because they choose to go too fast or they choose to run red lights. Or you don't have to like what I say, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because you are ultimately responsible for your own choices. So if I tell you not to speed and you choose to, at least you know that you're breaking the law and you're responsible for whatever comes your way. What I would, and I thought about this on the way into work today. My daughter hit the table last night, and she nearly knocked over something, and it scared her, and she got very upset. And I said, why are you getting upset? Were you scared? Did you know it was wrong? Did you mean to do it? And these are questions that's funny. I thought, I wonder when a driver gets into a collision and they were speeding, do they get upset and go, oh, I really shouldn't have been speeding because I caused that? Do they have that realization? If you're breaking the law and bad things happen, like when the drivers get tickets, do you think there's that acceptance of I chose to engage in that activity and it came with a price? Or is there a not my fault? It's the police officer's fault for catching me doing the bad thing that I was doing. Anyway, I'll leave that for you to gnaw on for a while. But, my daughter felt guilty. And it took me a lot of work and my wife and I, a lot of work to relieve her of that guilt because she really didn't do anything wrong. She just bumped into a table. I'm sure she will lose the interest in being upset about trivial things like that. Hopefully she maintains that kind of concern for doing the right thing when she becomes a driver. Okay, Raul had further questions. We started this earlier, and we were talking about a ticket for 29 over. Okay, let's see here. So so you put in for a trial date, received a hearing date on that day. Okay. Oh, so you went to court. You were sick on the day you had court. So you've likely been found guilty in your absence if you didn't have somebody attend court on your behalf, which means that you have to go and reopen the case. You have to go apply. You have to go see Justice of the Peace and request for the trial to be reopened, which means you probably have to pay for the fine in advance because you've already been convicted, and then you can reopen it. Someone on TikTok wants to know what my favorite motorcycle is. You know what? I don't have a favorite motorcycle anymore. I had in the 80s, it was like the Hurricane 1000 in full mirror polish because that was cool. I don't have a favorite now, though. I really like a lot of different motorcycles. And the biggest indicator or decision-making that tips the scales as to what I would buy is what I fit on and don't look stupid on. I went to motorcycle shows, and if you're interested in buying a motorcycle, I suggest you do this, and that is bring a friend and get them to take photos of you on each bike. And this may sound silly, but it's not. Because the last thing you want to do is look stupid on a motorcycle. I am a big guy. I'm 6'5", 300 plus pounds. And if I get onto a motorcycle and it looks like a bear riding a circus tricycle, that's not the right motorcycle. Of course, that's an oversimplified thing. I want to be comfortable. I want to have the ergonomic appeal. So I like full deckers. I like luggage. I like stereos. I like being comfortable. I like custom saddles. I want something that has that's going to hold me and it's going to be an all-day riding machine. I do have a favorite motorcycle. My work bike was my favorite ride. I liked riding my electric glide with a police solo saddle. Very specifically, I do not like riding Harley Davidsons with fixed, civilian seats. I like the spring or gas shock or combination thereof police motorcycle solo saddle. And if I bought a police or a non-police Harley, I'd put that saddle on it any day of the week, and I'd probably jack it up a couple of inches because I like doing motor bronco or competitive rodeo style riding, like police rodeo. And if you don't know what police rodeo riding is, go Google it, YouTube it. It is tons of fun. Question of Honda Goldwing. I have a Valkyrie Interstate at home. I have a Valkyrie Interstate that has sit idle in my garage. I'm kind of bored with it. I've had it since '99 when it was brand new, first one in Canada. And I loved riding it. I took it all over the country. I went into the United States. I used to do long haul, long driving. Couldn't do it with the stock saddle. Bought myself a Corbin saddle because it distributed weight better and I was much more comfortable. But it's very Honda Goldwing-like because it's a 1525cc engine with 6 carburetors fed into 6 exhaust pipes, and it was great. But it was based on a Goldwing engine. The new Goldwing, I don't think works for me. My old partner has a Goldwing, loves it. I know many people who have it, and they're magical, maintenance-free, nearly maintenance-free motorcycles. So I think they're fantastic machines. But I, oddly enough, really enjoy the Harley police bike with all its overheating, with all its dripping oil, with all the negative stuff that comes with it. I like being able to do things on that motorcycle that I'm not sure I could do on any other motorcycle based on riding position alone and just low. Well, I don't know. Maybe I have to try it. My old partner does rodeo stuff on his wing, and maybe he's just better at it than me. I don't know. Okay, we're going to keep going here. Ali wants to know how I'm streaming. Didn't the federal government ban TikTok to all public workers? No, they didn't. And they may have said their people can't use it, but we're not their people. We're municipal police. We're also not using TikTok. I know it sounds strange. You're watching me on TikTok, but I'm using something called Restream, which is a fantastic service that is taking my RTMP stream and feeding it to TikTok securely. I'm not connected to TikTok right now. I'm looking at an interface that allows me to see, that allows you to see me, but that's it. So there's no security concerns here. So if you're a government organization and you want to go online but you're concerned about security, Restream actually does that. Yeah, links to that are in at the bottom of Ask a Traffic Cop if you were watching and needed to know that. Along with another piece of software that I use and think is awesome for my workflow for creating content, which I'm constantly doing. So all that is down there in trafficcop.ca. All right. We talked about this. When is Dave's Corner Garage? Wait. I gotta wait till this load. When is Dave's Corner Garage or the Racer on live? I want to ask about place for advanced driver training, mostly for fun and to be a snob because I have advanced training. I don't know what you mean by the. Oh, do you mean the other racer? You mean like the host? So on the 15th, Saturday the 15th, during the Honda Indy, I will be in studio live on Dave's Corner Garage. But if you check their Instagram, which oddly enough is Dave's Corner Garage, you can go and see them. They announce who their guests are going to be. So yeah, Google them. They're also on the all the platforms. And moving on. What is this? Oh, that's questions. That's answers. Yeah. All right. A lot of stuff here that's not conversation. It's conversation, not questions. So I'm weeding through. We got that. We got this. We got. Oh, and Akila, of course, got his GI Joes at Consumers Distributing. So for anyone who does not know, you should Google it and see the old Ontario stuff, because this was a place that was a catalog. It was like Amazon, but in person. They could ship it to you, but it was a catalog, physical catalog, and I loved it. I used to study that catalog and circle all the things I wanted and would save up for them. And it gave me all sorts of. Now you have a wish list on Instagram or on Amazon. But this was cool. And then you'd go in, you'd fill out a piece of paper, you'd hand it to the person behind the desk, and then just like the beer store now delivers your beer to the front, now they used to bring you your products. So I thought that was really cool. Oh, there's a question about operating jet skis at night in Ontario if you have appropriate navigation lights. I honestly haven't the foggiest, because I'm not a boat person. I have my boater's card. I got that like 20 years ago. I haven't been on a boat since. I haven't operated a boat. I've been on ships. I like cruising. I do that all the time. I've not been a boat. But if Sergeant Kulik, who's not in front of me right now, used to be in the Marine unit. And I can, you know what? I will text the good sergeant. I guess Sergeant Kulik is the other good sergeant. Let's see here. I'm going to dictate. Can you operate a jet ski at night in Ontario if you have appropriate navigation lights? Question mark. I'm holding the phone. If I was driving, this would be illegal. But since it's mounted, that's exactly how I would send a message to somebody if I was driving safely without staring into it. It would be really creepy that way and unsafe. Do you sell merch as well? I've seen your bottle there. Oh, this was a one-off. I did a survey. I got a $50 coupon off of at Vistaprint, and I made one for me, so I know it's mine. The most expensive water bottle on the planet, $50 for a water bottle. That's what they charge for this. I think I may have had to pay taxes or something on top, but it was like I used up the entire coupon. But that just when they offer you $50 to what the? Oh, hold on a second. In. Okay. Apparently text-to-speech, instead of saying in Ontario, it says Leiden, Ontario. Anyway, oops. Yeah, so the most expensive water bottle ever made. I don't do merch for Ask a Traffic Cop, but if I should run into you, you let me know, and I may have something for you. Okay. Is there an equivalent to the Miranda rights in Canada? Yes, it's called rights to counsel. Miranda rights is referencing, I guess, a specific case that created the case law requiring rights to be provided in the United States. In the back of our memo books, we have rights to counsel. And they're right there in black and white for everybody. So whereas Miranda rights, you have the right to remain. This thing that you see in the movies, we do it very differently. It's much verbose, more verbose. It's lengthy, and I'll read it to you because someone asked. So this is where rights to counsel. It says, "I'm arresting you or detaining you for briefly," and then it puts in brackets to briefly describe the reasons. It's my duty to inform you that you have the right to retain and instruct counsel without delay. You have the right to a telephone any lawyer you wish. You also have the right to free advice from a legal aid lawyer. If you're charged with an offense, you may also apply to the Ontario Legal Aid Plan for assistance, and it gives a telephone number. It's a number that will put you in contact with a legal aid duty counsel lawyer for free legal advice, and it says in uppercase right now. Do you understand? And we make notes as to your answers, and it goes on. And there's cautions that go on beyond that. But it is the equivalent of Miranda rights. Ish. Okay. Can pets be kept? Whoa. Can pets be kept in the trunk in order to secure them while driving? The trunk suggests like no air and killing them. That's not good. The trunk, no. Secure them with either a tether. There's harnesses you can get that are intended for use with seatbelts. So you want to tether them in the back seat or crate them in the back seat. And that is information we got from the OSPCA and the Humane Society, and they are big advocates of that. So we've had them on some episodes in the past. That's their information. I support that information. We don't endorse any one particular product, but there are many available to choose from. Make sure it is one that is tested and rated and real. A lot of people who sell a piece of fabric and say this is a product, buy it, and then you get garbage. So check out and see who they're endorsing. Talk to the OSPCA, and maybe we'll get them to come back on and talk about this again because I think it's good information. Never put an animal in the trunk. The heat in your trunk. If you're talking about cargo area in the back of a controlled environment like a SUV, that's different. SUV station wagon rear with what's it called? Temperature control. What's the word I'm actually looking for? I don't know. Environmental accessories that provide cooling. Yeah, air conditioning. If you have air conditioning, but a trunk, you're going to kill that animal, and that's going to be something where we would charge you criminally. Don't do that. Okay, Zombie is with us. Good morning. It is nice to see you. Good to have you. I hope you have some good dad jokes because yours tend to be awesome. Okay. What is this? Okay. I'm going to read this and hopefully it sounds good. Stephen says, my mother-in-law's van, I think that's what you meant to say, is 2017. Can she have a strip of brown on the top of her windshield? No. 2017 was the first year they were banned. 2016 or older she can have, but 2017 or newer you cannot have a tin strip on the top. One of my favorite questions of all time, consequences of driving alone with a G1. First off, it's a learner's permit. You are not a licensed driver. You require a accompanying G-class driver with 4 years experience. Their experience can start when they get their G2, but the total experience has to be without interruption, without suspension, a 4-year period of time. And they should be looking for what Mike calls the freckles. And I'd never heard of anyone call that before. I think that's great. I think we have to adopt it. So thank you, Michael. Did you make that up or did someone else, and we should credit them? Anyway, the freckles, the 4 dots vertically aligned to the left of your mini-me photo in the bottom right-hand corner of your license. Everyone pull out your license and have a look. Do you have the freckles? If you do, you're qualified to supervise. And if you don't, you're not. And you may be in between where you are technically qualified with number of years, but you don't know for sure. Contact the ministry, find out before you do it, because if we pull you over and you're supervising and you don't have the freckles and you don't actually have the time, but you thought you had 4 years, well, the driver's going to have these consequences, which is exactly what the question was. And that is a ticket for $110 for drive unaccompanied. But wait, there's more. On conviction, a 30-day, 90-day, or kicked out of the graduated licensing program. So first time it's 30 days, second time it's 90 days, third time you're kicked out of the graduated licensing situation, and you lose all time that you've earned in terms of experience. So let's say you're trying to get your 8 or 12 months to get your G2. Well, you're back to zero because you don't know how to follow the rules. You're also not insured because you're not a licensed driver. So if you're in a collision, the insurance company will likely deny you your claim. That's not good. Write off mom or dad's car or cousin, friend, whoever, your own car could be. You write it off, it's not going to be replaced under insurance. Your injuries may or may not. Like, it's a bad day at the office. So don't do that. Now, let's say your mom, dad, person, whoever gave you access to a car, Well, they're going to be charged for permitting an unlicensed driver or someone to breach their conditions while driving the car. They're responsible to make sure that you're legally permitted to operate that motor vehicle. So they get charged. If they say, well, I never gave them permission, well, then you get to be charged criminally for take vehicle without consent. All in all, don't do it. That's it. That's the easiest thing. All right, here's a question. Are Sur-Ron electric dirt bikes street legal in Toronto? If not, what is the process of making one street legal? Or can you recommend any e-dirt bikes that are street legal? Or I think we were talking about this yesterday during the replay in the chat. We replayed yesterday's live for 4 hours yesterday evening, and we were chatting about it. So Sur-Ron makes some bikes that are e-bikes, and they make others that are e-motorcycles. The e-motorcycles, if they have a VIN, a vehicle identification number issued by Transport Canada, then they can be licensed and insured if they meet the requirements for street legal status. At which point, if you have a license, ownership, and insurance, you can drive them. You can ride them on the street because they're street legal. They have a license plate. They're insured. You're a licensed motorcycle operator. They're just an electric motorcycle, but they're not bicycles. Please understand, they're not bicycles. You need all of those things to make them legal. Now, if you have one of those bikes, then they sell one that is a dirt bike off-road only. It's a motorcycle. It's an off-road motorcycle that cannot be operated on the road, only on trails and private property. And even with the trails, you have to get them plated. They have to qualify and have safety, meet the requirements. If you're buying a Sur-Ron product that is an e-bike, it has to be limited to 32 kilometers an hour maximum speed on a flat surface. It has to have a motor no more powerful than 500 watts. If you plug in a jumper cable and make it 32 kilometers max speed by way of a governor, it's arguable that that is not meeting the requirements because it's capable of going far more. Many people will argue with me. There are e-bikes or motor vehicles being sold as e-bikes that are capable of 90 kilometers an hour if you pull a little wire out of a socket. That bike is capable of 90 kilometers an hour or 80 kilometers or what have you. It is more than 32 kilometers. It has a 2,000 watt motor. Just the motor alone makes it illegal. You must have functional pedals. If you take the pedals off, it's a motorcycle. So before you buy, before you ride, know the rules. Go to trafficcop.ca. I have links to all these pages that explain in better detail what the requirements are. And if you choose to ride them, just know that just about everybody that I know is looking forward to writing you a ticket for each and every charge possible. And I say that because it's true. I was working on a document that is going out to every police officer in Toronto that is basically breaking down exactly what they need in case they want some help, exactly what they need to ensure that they properly prosecute and charge you, or charge you and then the Crowns prosecute. But the idea is don't break the rules. These are serious ones. Riding a motorcycle without a license is a serious problem. Riding a motorcycle without insurance is a serious problem. $5,000 to $25,000 and up to 6 months in jail if you choose to break that particular rule. Let's see here. So, answer about and feel free to ask for more questions about e-motorcycles because Harley-Davidson makes them and Zero Motorcycles makes them and they're all motorcycles. Okay, where is my question so I can put it back on the screen? Here we go. Question was, and then now we have an answer of, can you operate a jet ski at night in Ontario if you have appropriate navigation lights? The answer from Sergeant Kulik, who is a former Marine unit officer. So the answer is yes, you can operate at night with the proper navigation lights and all required safety equipment on board. However, it's definitely not advisable to go out past sundown because you are not visible and the potential to be hit and not seen are much greater. The other issue is if you break down out there at night without VHF radio on board to just call for help, you will be stuck in it and drift. Just overall, not a good idea if you have, even if you have the proper navigation lights. There you have it. I understand that whole idea of finding you is the biggest problem, which gives me a great segue into what 3 words. What 3 words is something that our dispatchers use for marine rescue and for park in the middle of nowhere rescue. It is something that if you have cell phone signal, if your phone can provide the call to a 911, and they say, where are you? And you say, I don't know. I'm in the middle of a field or I'm in the middle of the water. It gives you 3 words that will allow us to identify or locate you. It's better than nothing, but it is still not a good idea to be out in the water. I don't like this idea of being adrift, broken down at night or in the day. I'm going to stick to being on land. Okay. With that answered, and I appreciate that, Sarge, because I know nothing about boats, and I'm not afraid to say it. Scrolling down back to new stuff. Oreo follows up, saying that they always see people riding Surons on the road, driving past cops, and they don't get stopped. I can't speak to why that is the case. Are you saying they're driving those illegal motorcycles without license plates? Well, I don't know. Maybe the officers don't know what they're looking for, and they're waiting for my email with all the great stuff to make sure they charge everybody appropriately. Can private security companies flash white strobe lights on the highway? No. The law says you cannot produce white light forward. So if they have white and yellow strobes, they're technically breaking the law. They should not have those. Amber only strobes are legal, but even then, why are you using strobes on the highway? You should not be, because it's effectively a bright and high up hazard light. There's no reason on private property they can do what they want. Private security companies on private property can have white strobe lights all they want. On the road, they cannot use them. What happens on a hit and run, but they later show up to a reporting center? Interesting question. So they're failed to remain if they don't remain. And if you get there first and say they left, well, that's a different center. If you're talking about they hit you in the parking lot, they gave an opportunity, or they hung around, they left a note, they didn't leave a note, they called security, they did something to contact police and say, I've been here for an hour, I can't find the owner, no one's come back to the car, I'm going to the collision reporting center. They've done what they're supposed to do. But if you actively drive into another vehicle and then you run away and then go to a collision reporting center, that might be like a hint that you could have been impaired, unlicensed, maybe not the driver who was supposed to be behind it. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that's bad. So they will likely get investigated. But at the end of the day, it's all about the evidence. If you had a dash cam and you saw a male person behind the wheel of the car in that collision, but a female showed up to report the collision and say it was them, well, you have some evidence to provide to the contrary. And that's one where charges would likely be laid. Okay. I appreciate the Grinch breaking down what a follower versus a subscription is. You see, the question was whether people can pay to subscribe. Well, we don't need people to pay. We do this for free. I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, we don't make money on social media. We don't get paid by platforms for doing what we do. We do this because we want to provide good information to everybody. It's all about sharing good information, being a respected and trustworthy source of content when it comes to this. This is stuff we don't mess around with. Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name is Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on the show called Ask a Traffic Cop. And I also post all sorts of content on traffic services because we're trying to answer your traffic and police questions, bring you up-to-date information as the laws change, and make sure that you are the most qualified, educated, and reasonably answered person available. If you watch this and you think you got value, please like, follow, share, retweet, whatever it is that you do on the platform you're on, because we have so many different platforms that we're currently broadcasting to. And just to recap them, it is TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and of course Twitter, where we ignore everybody because we can't see your questions. Something that I hope changes in the near future. And I've been saying that for about a year and a half. After the Periscope. That's what it was called. Yeah, Periscope was awesome. It worked perfectly with us, and they changed to Instagram Live, not Instagram Live. They went to Twitter Live, and it all broke. Okay. Can you get your license plates taken for illegal tint? Yes. And by the way, at 11 o'clock, which it is right now, the show, as far as new questions, is done. My wife is off duty. She's been taking your questions from TikTok and bringing them over, and that ends now, only because we would just keep going for hours and hours and hours, and we will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. So if you've got questions that are, just bring them back tomorrow. We'll do it again, and we try and focus on new questions as opposed to repeats of the old, but we'll talk about whatever you ask about. But to answer this question is about, can you lose your plates for illegal tint? And the answer is absolutely yes. Why? Because if you have an unsafe vehicle as a result of dark tint, that is a reason to seize your license plates. Just obscuring the interior of a motor vehicle does not meet the grade. If I just can't identify, but I don't, it's about obscuring the interior, obscuring the driver's view by way of tint. So if you have any tint on the windshield, that is an unsafe motor vehicle. If you have more than 30% light blockage on the windows, that is an unsafe motor vehicle. You cannot get safetied with that. Your vehicle shouldn't even be on the road. So technically, absolutely justified in taking your plates. But it's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. Thank you. I put a turbo and air intake in my car. Can I get tickets for modification? Legal modifications are legal. You can put a turbo on a car as long as it's done properly and safely, and you've not removed any emissions control devices that are required to be on your car. You got to have your muffler. You got to have your resonator. You have to have everything there that needs to be there. But adding cold air intake or air intake is not illegal. Don't cut out a headlight and replace it with an inlet. That's a bad thing. You need to have two headlights. That's why I say that. So know what you're doing before you do it. Make sure you verify. Here's a great question. Why do people have such a hard time understanding a three-way stop? There's one at a drawbridge here, and it's always chaos. I don't know where here is, but I imagine or can totally understand why it's chaos. I have a problem with anybody who doesn't understand how to use a stop sign because it's pretty simple. Pedestrians really mess it up a lot because they think they have the right of way all the time, and they don't. They have to be lawfully in the intersection. Did you know that pedestrians have to look both ways before they cross the road so they don't interfere with the movement of a car already entering and in the midst of a turn or intersection? But we have people who do all sorts of things. And hopefully we have some pedestrians who follow us because we talk about pedestrian safety too. And cyclist safety, although the cyclists don't usually like what I have to say. Just saying. I trigger some people. Consequences of driving with a G1 with other people in the car that don't drive. You're allowed to drive with people in the car that don't drive or that do drive. However, the only person other than the G1 learner in the front seat of the motor vehicle can be a qualified G-class driver. Now, you can have people in the back seat. That's fine. You can have babies, siblings, friends. No restrictions there. But the only person. So if you had a pickup truck with 3 seats and they're all in the front because it's a pickup truck, single bench, you could not take any passengers with you. The only person can be the supervising driver. Logan seems to think I have a favorite motorcycle. He says it's a Vespa when I'm rocking the chaps. Hey, I have chaps. Chaps are cool. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Especially when bugs are exploding and rocks are flying, it's good to have cowhide to protect your hide. Here's a question. How come it's okay for a cop to speed casually without sirens or lights? I like questions like this. Because there's an exemption under the Highway Traffic Act that allows police, fire, and ambulance with different criteria to exceed the speed limit. Now, the police can do it for any lawful purpose. Why? Because we have a lot of different purposes. We do a lot of different things. One of those things, and I'll use this as the example, is we have to enforce Highway Traffic Act laws. Now, if I'm driving in traffic at the speed limit, I'll be passed by everybody else on the road, which is pretty pathetic. So I have to be able to go at least the speed of everybody else legally to catch everybody else, to observe what they're doing in their native habitat. The driver who is using their cell phone, I have to be able to sneak up on them and see what they're doing. If I'm going slower than traffic, well, they get a big warning of a giant police car in front of them. That's bad because then I don't catch them, and I want to catch them. I need to catch them. They need to get tickets. Why do they need to get tickets? Because they're breaking the law and they need to change their behavior because they're putting lives at risk. And if you don't think that's a risk, that's a problem, but we'll come back to that. Now, if I put lights and sirens on, that's an alert. It tells people to put their phones away, to stop doing what they're doing. We don't want to do that. We want to catch them. We want to break the cycle, change their behavior. Now, we also go to calls for domestic violence, for robberies in progress. There's a couple of reasons why we don't want to have our lights and sirens during those things. One, we alert said bad persons who are breaking the law that we're on our way, which may cause them to flee or up the ante, maybe take a hostage. Bad things can happen when we alert them of our presence. So we would very least want to reduce our use when we approach the target area. But what about while we're going through traffic all the way there? People do the darndest things. They hammer the brakes. They stop in the middle of the road. They don't pull over, but they get panicked. And that is a dangerous situation for a police officer, fire engine, or ambulance. So why do we not do it? Well, we can generally get to where we're going faster without activating our police sirens and lights. When we have to tell you to get out of the way, we will. But otherwise, we're not doing 50 miles over the limit or 50 kilometers over the limit. We are going faster than the flow of traffic. And when we need to tell you something, we will. If I wrap my car with a different color, would I get a flag for doing that? If you change the motor vehicle color, if you change the more than a pinstripe, you're changing the dramatically. Maybe 50% is the magic number. But if you change the color of your vehicle, you have 6 days to update that change with the Ministry of Transportation. Otherwise, you are eligible for a ticket for failing to apply for a new updated ownership document. You need to tell us. AJ the Awesome, whose ribs are probably feeling better by now, hopefully. What happens if you want to ticket a driverless car? Like, what if it runs a stop sign? Who gets the ticket if there's no driver? Also, sorry, I'm late, lost track of time. No worries. We're not offended. Okay, a little bit. But what happens? So a driverless car in Ontario right now, there are no driverless cars other than people who have applied for the pilot project. And that's really just a company called Gatic who's working in conjunction with Loblaws. They have, I think, 6 vehicles, maybe it's 4 vehicles. I think it's 4 vehicles. One that is level 5, truly autonomous. Nobody sits in the driver's seat. They do have a supervisor in the passenger seat. They have 3 that are level 4, which means someone has to be in the driver's seat, but is not required to do anything other than take over if there's a problem or hit the emergency off. Those vehicles, who's responsible? The person who's supervising is responsible if they're in the car, and they also have remote viewers. They have people who are supervising those vehicles remotely at a command center. Those people could be held responsible, and there's a protocol for that. If you talk about Teslas in the model, the Tesla model, whatever that has that's called full self-drive, FSD. Those drivers have to be in the car. They're absolutely responsible for everything that happens while they're in autopilot, full self-drive, or otherwise. So if they're doing something, they're responsible. We ticket them. But there's no full autonomous vehicle in Ontario at this time. If you're talking about the vehicles in the United States, taxis and whatnot, they're fully supervised remote viewers. The company's responsible. Even in a collision, autonomous vehicles under the pilot have to have $5 or $7 million insurance. And they're responsible for everything. Even if they end up in a collision, they're responsible. Even if somebody drove into them, they're going to be held responsible. Let's see here. Third-party stream is why TikTok viewers lack Q&A. Put a Q. Yes, absolutely. That is the biggest pain in the rear. The reason the fact that we're not currently streaming directly in app took away a what I thought was vital function for us, and that was the Q&A function in chat in live. It was great. We used to be able to hit a button and put the question on screen. It was awesome. We can't do it anymore, and that makes me sad. Is the modified electric bike going in the highway? Since it has license, registration, and proof of insurance, it is no longer a bike and it's a motorcycle. A modified electric bike. Okay, so if you have an e-bike that is capable of going over 32 kilometers an hour, if it has a motor over 500 watts, if it has no pedals, if it doesn't meet all the required information or equipment and configuration, it's a motorcycle. It's not an e-bike. E-bike is what we gift. It's a title we put, and we deem it not to be a motor vehicle. But okay, let's back this up. An e-bike is a motor vehicle. An electric bicycle is a motor vehicle according to the criminal code. It's a motor vehicle according to the Highway Traffic Act. However, if it meets the criteria set out in the Highway Traffic Act, it is deemed magically in law not to be a motor vehicle anymore. For the purposes of enforcement, it's not a motor vehicle under the HTA if it meets all the requirements. Well, guess what? If it doesn't meet the requirements, that magic of legislation doesn't apply, and it's a motor vehicle. So, yeah. Now, criminal code doesn't care if it meets the criteria. It's a motor vehicle all the time. So if you're caught using an e-bike or an e-kick scooter, an electric skateboard, as an impaired person, you're drunk or high, you're eligible for charges under the Criminal Code of Canada for impaired operation. Yay! A lot of people who think that is the greatest way to travel, drunk. It's not a car doing the safe thing. No, you're driving a motor vehicle, you're arrestable and prosecutable. Akela Draconis is calling in sick in advance. I will not be in tomorrow in case you're not in on Friday. I'm remembering Constable. Yes. So, yeah, Saturday, wow. It's amazing how time flies. was thinking about I think about Andrew Hung all the time, but I was especially thinking about him today as I walked past a picture of him at the stairs, and the fact that it's coming up. Anniversaries are coming up. They're not coming up that soon, but it's coming up enough that I'm already thinking about it. I will be on Friday. In fact, we'll be here for 2 shows on Friday. We'll be doing the regular show from 10 to 11, and then we will be doing another show from 11:30 till 12:30, roughly. And that is going to be a special focused on new drivers, and that is featuring my friend Scott Marshall, the safe driver who is with Trubicars. They create content. They create educational content, but they actually create a curriculum for driving schools across Canada. And he is going to spend an hour with us talking about tips for new drivers. And we're going to hopefully do this on a regular basis where we focus on shows, not for people who want to know about customizing and speeding and doing all sorts of stuff in their car, not wanting to know how much customizing and running red lights. We're going to focus on how to be a safe driver, because that's what he does. 35 years as a traffic educator, and we get to borrow him for an hour. And of course, he's going to be on the show for 10 minutes tomorrow and 10 minutes on Friday as well. So even if you're just here for the live, you'll get a chance to say hello. Michael says that Campbell is the best sergeant. Well, how many sergeants do you know? I mean, I'll tell him that. I'm sure I'll be very happy, but how do you know? He's awesome. He's on vacation. He'll be back with us next week. Do drivers get a fine if their rear license plate has a cover on it, and why? Because of the 407? No, because the Highway Traffic Act says that you will install the plate in a conspicuous place and free of obstruction. So you cannot obstruct it. And a license plate cover is an obstruction. It prevents photography, which is in the case of 407, but also for red light cameras and speed enforcement. It is an obstruction that provides it interferes with a police officer's ability to readily read that plate. So front or back, doesn't matter. You cannot put a cover, a tinted or clear. You cannot put a license plate frame from your favorite Ford dealer. You cannot put anything on the plate. It's an offense, $110. If you keep doing it and ignoring the tickets, well, we'll start escalating things, and you will get a summons to court where you don't get a choice to pay. You actually have to go in. What does a motorcycle do if the traffic light won't change due to not being heavy enough? It is an electromagnetic field that you are trying to disrupt in order to trigger the light, the countdown phase. Some people install rare earth magnets to the underside of their motorcycles in hopes to disrupt that field to trigger it. Sometimes it just won't work. Sometimes they are broken. You can go and press the walk button. That's one way of doing it. I would suggest turning off your motorcycle and taking your key with you so no one steals it, because that would be bad, and actually there's an offense for that. If you are able to, make a right turn legally on the red light after coming to a complete stop, because a lot of people don't understand that you have to stop for a red light, even when making a right turn on that red. Stop first, then make right. Anyway, pet peeve. And then make either a legal U-turn, which is unsafe or less safe than doing other things, but it is legal if it's not signed otherwise and not in front of a number of places, or just turn into a parking lot, go around the block the other way. There's tons of options. Running the red light is not one of them. BC has an IRP system. Doesn't Ontario have something similar, or is it Straits? Is this rights to counsel? What is the IRP system? I am unclear as to what you're asking. Let me googly goo it, because now I want to know. BC IRP. I'm looking. I'm not finding. Someone tell me what it is. All right. Okay. Moving on. Do police have a ticket quota that we have to reach every month? No. Although I've asked, and I'm told I can write as many as I want. It was always an internal thing. I'm not on the road. I haven't been on the road in years. But I would write as many as I could. It was never I've done 3, I'm good. No, it's write as many as I can, because if you go out there for 10 minutes, there's nothing but violators. Everyone's breaking a law. Now you sort of have to pick and choose between which laws you're going to focus on, which is why people don't get pulled over for 5 over, because there's so many people doing 10, 15, 20 over, in fact, 30, 40, 50 over. Really, we should be holding people accountable for breaking any law at any amount, because where we just let people get away with a little bit, then they take a little bit, and they go a little, and then collisions happen, and they were avoidable, but people got away with it, so they did what they got away with. But there's no quota. Now I will say this: if everybody else is writing 50 a day, and I come in with 5 a day, someone's going to ask a question: Why are you only writing 5? If everyone else is doing 50. Now that's an unrealistic number, but I'm using it as an example to paint a picture. But it's a good question. Why weren't you? Now, if we had calls for service, collisions, we arrested somebody. If I arrest one person after one ticket and it's an all-day event to investigate, process, and deliver them to court, that's my day. One ticket, maybe no tickets. So it's not a requirement to write tickets. It is one of those things that if you're not doing it, what are you doing? And if you're doing something else, it's totally justifiable to not write. Some people don't write any tickets. A lot of people write no tickets. Okay, so Michael does get credit for calling it the dot line freckles earlier this week. I noticed it, but I really didn't jump into my world until today. But freckles is the new word. The dots on your license. What is this? If during backed up traffic on a highway, people are passing on the right shoulder, are you allowed to block them? I would say that would lead to aggressive driving or collisions or road rage. I wouldn't do it. I mean, are you allowed to block them? Nothing says that you shouldn't be driving on the shoulder either. I wouldn't suggest doing it. You hope that the police find them and charge them appropriately. Let's see here. Anand Sharma says, Officer, it's very sad to see, but there are so many tyrants in the GT area. What can we do to improve that? I'm not aware of any tyrants or dictators, or I don't know what you're suggesting. I think you're saying that I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I don't really know what you're saying. If you're saying there are cops who are meanies and give people tickets, no, they're doing their job. Beyond that, I don't know what you're alleging. If you're upset about getting a ticket for breaking the law, don't break the law. You won't get tickets. I see a lot of drivers getting stunt driving charges for doing 145 on a 60-kilometer-an-hour speed limit. You don't need to. Doing 100 in a 60 is stunt driving. Doing a 145 is something I'd probably arrest them for criminal dangerous driving. It is completely unacceptable to do that kind of speed. Any speeding is speeding and not legitimate and not allowed. But speeding in that kind of level is gone beyond stunt to me, and that is absolutely criminal. Put the handcuffs on situation. Fami wants to know, can I drive with my Bolivian license? If you go to trafficcop.ca, I have links for all of the information below, and chances are your Bolivian license would qualify as a visitor. If you become a resident, you have 3 months, and then you'd have to apply for a local, an Ontario license if you were staying here. You would likely require an international driving permit, especially if you were staying more than 6 months as a visitor. But in most cases, foreign licenses are accepted. Very rarely would it not be. How do I find out if I had an honorable suspension? I don't know what an honorable suspension is. There's honorable discharges from the military. What is an honorable suspension? What do you mean? Do all trailers need to have license plates? Apparently not. I thought they did. But apparently there are some small trailers that don't. I don't have enough information to provide with any confidence, but Sergeant Campbell will be back next week, and he knows stuff about trailers, more than I do. Can I own a car without insurance? You cannot drive a motor vehicle without insurance, but you can own one that's that's not going on the road. Keep it in your garage type thing. That's legal. You probably want fire and theft on most vehicles, but the time when you need insurance is when it's going to be on the road, and it depends on the jurisdiction. Maybe in Bolivia, you don't. If you are in Canada or in Ontario specifically, any car on the road must be insured. In fact, it comes with a wonderful $5,000 to $25,000 and up to 6 months in jail if you're driving a motor vehicle that does not have. Let's see here. Let's move that one. Oh, Michael was on it and answering questions. Okay. We're coming close. We're almost up to date. I'm almost at the 11 o'clock mark in terms of that's only 20 minutes behind schedule. I cannot I cannot go as fast as the questions come in. Okay. In a construction van, is it legal for use of only lap belts on a second row seating? If the vehicle only has lap belts, then it's legal. Here's the deal. You can't remove or not use part of the belt that was designed and required at the time of production of that vehicle. But if you have an old truck and the truck only has lap belts in the second row, then that's legal. But you can't take out and put in only lap belts. Oh, we have a dad joke. How do you follow... I'm so glad that wasn't inappropriate. I started reading it and I got really nervous. How do you follow Will Smith in the snow? Follow the Fresh Prince. Totally good. As soon as I saw Will Smith, I'm like, is this about him slapping somebody? Okay. Dad joke from Zombie. To the person who stole all the toilets from the police station, you'll probably get away with it. The cops have nothing to go on. That's actually very good. You've had a couple of theft-related jokes. Microsoft Word was one of my favorites. Whoever stole my copy of Office, you have my word. I'm never going to stop, looking for you or something like that. Whatever it was good. I think you've actually provided some of the key jokes that I don't remember, but were very funny and I appreciate. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks golfing? In case they get a hole-in-one. And thank you, Grinch, for reporting that above message. I banned them from here, but I will report them as well. There was somebody who made an inappropriate comment trying to gain followers, I think, for weird things. Anyway. And then Sharma says, I didn't answer your question. Well, I did, but it took a long time to get to you. I think I did, unless there's something I really didn't follow. And then I asked for clarification. I think you were talking about tyrants. Yeah, I totally talked about you. Leo Wife, you didn't highlight my question. Leo Wife is only on TikTok. Leo Wife is not talking about things on YouTube. All right. Akela Dracona says, don't have a good day. Have a great day. And see you Friday. Yes, Friday. And as a reminder, we're doing the extra hour when we talk to Scott Marshall. Okay. Are beadlock rims illegal for road use? No, there's a number of beadlock rims that come stock with the off-road vehicles, like they're Jeeps and so on. They're not illegal, at least nothing that I'm aware of that prevent. It's to ensure that the rim doesn't come on off. It doesn't come off the rim. The tire doesn't come off. It's likely much safer. And I think that's what we're talking about. If I'm talking about something that is not that, and I'm totally off base, Thomas, let me know. Maybe I'm talking about the wrong thing. Okay, now we're talking about tyrants again. Officer, I see at least once a week that cops don't stop completely at stop signs. What can we do about that? Can we complain or report? So many tyrants in the GTA area now. So someone who doesn't come to a complete stop isn't a tyrant. They're a traffic violator. And can a police officer violate traffic laws? Well, they're not supposed to do that one. So if you want to make a report, you're welcome to. You can do that online. You can call a supervisor. You can contact the OIPRD. There are means to do that. They will be investigated, and if appropriate, they will be held accountable. Now, how many people actually stop for a red stop sign? I do, on duty and off, and I make a point of it. And it bugs people because most people just roll through. They come to a stop-ish. They slow, but never actually reduce movement to zero. And I love describing and explaining what stopping is, because so many people have no idea what it is. It's not rolling through. There's no such thing as a rolling stop. There's stopping or not stopping. That is it. Okay. What is this? Why do police take the emergency lane instead of sitting in traffic like every other driver and go ahead and merge and continue like nothing happened? What is an emergency lane? I'm not aware of one existing. Do you mean a HOV lane? Do you mean a diamond multi-use lane? Do you mean a shoulder? I need to know. Okay. Armand Anand, sorry, I am going to ban you soon because you keep just answering or talking about that you're spamming. Okay. And thank you to Thomas, who is explaining that. I am working my way through. but not at the speed for which an end would like. Is the 407 considered a Canadian highway even though it's owned by Germany? Well, it's not the Autobahn, I'll tell you that. It is a highway that may be privately owned and is still falling under the HTA because of an agreement. It is a private property space that you still have to follow the law on. Okay, and thank you again, Thomas, for asking and then to be patient. I appreciate you. Before I even put it on the screen, how does dry skin affect you at work? You don't have any elbow grease to put into it. I love it. Okay, we're getting that cue. Well, this is a request for the traffic song, which is exactly how we're going to end the show. Okay. Moving down. Okay, and then it says, thank you. We need officers like that who can take questions. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. You didn't offend me, but I was getting frustrated with the number of times I was seeing your questions, so we're good. Okay, and you're welcome to come back anytime, ask questions. We're happy to have you. Leo Wife says, have a safe day, everyone. Okay, and Logic was asking about the service lane, the multi-use bus lane. Police are entitled to use that lane. The multi-use lane on the DVP isn't an emergency lane; it's a bus lane. Police often use that to get ahead, to do enforcement, to look for people on their cell phones, to move through traffic, and it is permissible for them to do it. Awesome. Have a wonderful day. If you are going to be driving, drive safely, drive sober, park legally, and come back tomorrow when we do this all again, and we'll have Scott Marshall in again for 10 minutes or so.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I was going to say something. I completely forgot what I was going to say because I saw the button that said, "Wook." It was something I was going to mention. Yesterday, we replayed this live for 4 hours. What do you think about that? Do you think that that's a good idea? I can have it replayed for like 10 hours if we want. And I sat for 4 of those hours at home while doing other things, and I had a lot of fun. We had a huge number of people, lots of questions. And I'm thinking I could actually download this, add a replay bar so everyone knows it's not live. And then we could have people jump in. Do you think that's worthy? It's worth doing? I'm curious to know. And then I forgot that other thing I was going to ask you that was really, really, really important, obviously. I completely forgot. And maybe I'll make a video about it later. Anyway. And the Grinch says, great way for people to see what they missed. Yeah, I think so. So maybe I'll go do that now. Boom, boom, boom. I see Emma saying, it always gets people so irritated. Maybe I was going to comment about that. I you know what? We're human. We get irritated when people spam. But I understand why people are like, I'm typing and he's not answering. Yeah, we were like 30 minutes behind. Yeah. All right. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow. I can't think of anything else that I got to tell you, which means as soon as I press end, it's going to be remembering. Have a great day, everybody.